Hi, I'm Tim Alderson. I'm the executive director of Seeds of Hope, which is committed to food justice and alleviating food insecurity. And if you'd like to learn more, watch this interview. We created Seeds of Hope back in, well, the original idea was in 2012. I had sold Aggregator a little while before that, took some time off, wrote a play. And then what happened was one of my dear friends, sadly, was in the hospital going through chemo for leukemia. And when he went in the hospital, he didn't have great expectation that he was going to survive. So it was pretty dim on the front end, but he was at City of Hope where they do tremendous work and was being treated with some new experimental chemo, I guess. I don't know all of it, but it was new, it was experimental, it was innovative, and they saved his life. So that was kind of amazing and a very happy time. But it was right after he had been told, you don't have cancer anymore. He was still in the hospital. They said they were kind of shocked by that outcome. It's like, it's not like remission. It's like, it's not there. You have no cancer. So he thought, great, I can go home now. And he said, well, we need you to finish another round of chemo because we're not sure why you don't have cancer and we want to make sure it doesn't come back. So he's in the hospital thinking now about, he went in like, oh, taking stock of his life. It's all over now. He's like, oh, I got a whole new lease on life. What am I going to do? And through a series of odd events and happenstance, one of the doctors turned out to be that was treating him turned out to be a good friend of mine with whom I was collaborating on a project to create a hospital farm at City of Hope. And those two guys got talking, and my friend John got all excited about the idea of doing something around food and nutrition and food insecurity when he got out. He was at the time the bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Los Angeles, and he thought that in that position, that the Episcopal Church should get involved in trying to alleviate food insecurity and all the unfortunate circumstances that follow from that. And so I came to visit him one day, and he said, hey, when I get out of here, I want to talk to you about doing something with gardens in the diocese. And he was thinking about my experience with the school garden network. He went, well, can we do something like that? And I said, sure. So he got out of the hospital. We went out to breakfast. This was late November, must have been in 2012. And the reason I remember that was because the first word out of his mouth was, I want to start in January. I'm thinking, start what in January? And he figured I would figure that out. Let's just do something. And so I came back to him with a plan that I called Farming the Diocese. And it was a simple plan in the beginning. I said, look, you've got your diocese covers 6 Southern California counties. You've got over 200 institutions in that geography. And I said, the one thing they all have in common, apart from whatever their primary mission is a physical location. And we can use those physical locations to produce food, to produce and distribute food. We can grow it where we can grow it. We can distribute it where it's needed. And it's just another layer that you can add into what you're already doing. All of these places that have property have landscaping. All of that landscaping can be edible. And so we can, that's why I call it Farm the Diocese. We'll just have this little stealth farm, using all this property to grow food. And that's how we started. And then it expanded way beyond that, and way beyond the Episcopal Church, to other church entities, but really beyond into other faith traditions, and then on to non-sectarian partners. And everything we do is based around the idea of collaboration. I always say I'd rather collaborate than replicate. So it's about leveraging resources between partners. And we've gone well beyond just the food that we can grow. We have a great partner, a nonprofit called Food Forward, and their whole mission is to rescue surplus produce that would otherwise become part of the waste stream. So instead of sending it to a landfill, perfectly edible food, but giving it to people who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford it. So they find the surplus produce and we get it from them, and then we distribute it to people who need it. And then in the context of growing food and distributing food, we also provide nutrition education, healthy cooking classes. We even have a horticultural therapy program that really deals with people's mental health challenges. We work with the LA County Department of Public Health, the Department of Mental Health, and just the whole thing just blossomed, and especially during the pandemic, when all of a sudden food insecurity went through the roof, when everybody lost their job. In 2020, we distributed over 26 million servings of fresh fruits and vegetables. It was insane. And it hasn't really slowed down. People, it's going to be a long, slow recovery. So it's nice to be able to connect the farming life that I grew up with to some whole new kind of farming that really is making a difference in people's lives. Going forward, I think the big goal for Seeds of Hope is to expand the impact that we're having, right? So right now, it's when we're literally just giving fresh fruits and vegetables to people who otherwise couldn't afford them, super important, but that's kind of like urgent care. The ultimate goal is like I said, our definition of food justice: universal, affordable access to basic nutrition. So that means we've got to work with others to help address the lack of access and the lack of affordability, because ultimately we want a place where everybody in our communities can afford to buy all the food that their families need for for a healthy life. That's going to mean addressing the access issues. There shouldn't be food deserts. We need to put at least fresh produce markets in every community, so everybody could walk down and get what they need. And we need to address the affordability, and there's a lot of ways to come at that. One of those is through food assistance programs, government programs like SNAP and that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, food insecurity is an economic issue. So we really need to look at how we can, and when I say we, I mean the community, us and our collaborative partners, how we can create jobs. So that's the ultimate thing: is everybody ought to be able to have a job and support themselves and their families and feel useful and productive and not be scrambling for scraps. So. And a lot of those things can happen in the same way, right? If you're gonna create access, if we're gonna eliminate food deserts and create places for people to shop and make it affordable, that equals jobs, right? People have to do those jobs, so that also brings jobs to the community. Those are big endeavors. They're going to take substantial collaborations between the nonprofit community, the for-profit community, government. We can do all of that when we pull together the right group of people. I know that from my experience with the California School Garden Network. I know those networks are easier to build than they are to maintain. They're challenging, but they are so effective when everybody decides to focus on a thing and just pull all those resources together to address that thing. We can do that. So that's the bigger ultimate goal going forward is, let's help people right now who are hungry right now. Let's get them something to eat, but let's address the underlying causes that got them there. The most important thing to know about fruits and vegetables is that we should eat a lot of them. The food we eat comes to us already prepared, and there's not a lot. I mean, there might be a leaf of lettuce and a slice of tomato on that burger, but it's not a lot. The thing about fruits and vegetables, they can be expensive, but they don't have to be. And you can grow them yourself if you have the ambition. Even if you don't have space, you can put window boxes, or you can grow it on your roof or in your backyard or wherever you've got it. And that's exceedingly affordable. But more is better when it comes to fresh produce. I know some people are concerned about whether they should buy conventionally grown produce or whether they should buy organically grown produce, and organic is more expensive, but conventional is still very good and very healthy. People are worried about things like pesticide residue or nutrient density, and all the science has shown that there's very little difference in either in terms of those things. So the health benefits from consuming more fruits and vegetables far outweigh any risk of eating those things. And so eat more. If you need food assistance, there's things like SNAP and other things, lots of benefits to help with that. Or if you grow it at home, it's practically free, and we can show you how to do that. And lots of others can too. There's lots of opportunities to learn how to grow your own. So more is the answer. Seeds of Hope can always use help. We can always use volunteers. Everything we do with volunteers, with other nonprofit collaborators, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to do that, especially now that we're kind of emerging from all the pandemic shutdowns. It's safer to get out and mingle, and particularly outdoors. So there are opportunities to come and help us on our little farms, doing that kind of work. And there's always opportunities to help us with food distribution, coming out in the community and actually help us hand the food to the people. And it's really cool sometimes if you can get the opportunity to tend the food, to grow it, help us harvest it, and then take it to the people who are actually going to consume it. There's a lovely human connection there. So there's a lot of opportunities to volunteer, and there's a lot of opportunities to help support us financially. We are a nonprofit, and all of it comes from generous donors and contracts that we have with government entities and foundation grants. But we're always looking for that. It costs money to do what we do to provide food for people who couldn't otherwise afford it. So you can volunteer, you can donate, and the best way to do that is to go to our website, which is seedsofhopela.org, and get more information that way.